Ever get that feeling like, what if my organs had their own Spotify playlist? What would the heart be rocking out to?
Interesting thought. Probably something with a good strong beat.
Right. Because today we are diving deep into this absolute beast of an organ, the one that literally keeps the music playing. The human heart.
It's an amazing pump.
You've sent in some awesome material, and get this, our hearts put even the most high-tech machines to shame.
They really do. It's non-stop action in there. A symphony of coordinated movements, valves, pressure changes, electrical impulses, everything perfectly in sync.
Okay, so first things first, let's map this out. We've got the four chambers, right? Two atriums, two ventricles. If the heart's our own personal stadium, those are the VIP sections.
Exactly. Each one has a very specific role. Let's start with the right atrium. It's like the welcome lounge for blood coming back from its trip around the body.
Makes sense. Even blood needs a breather after running around.
Exactly. After delivering oxygen everywhere, it needs a bit of a refresh.
So it's coming in a bit depleted, oxygen-wise.
Exactly. That's why it's called deoxygenated blood. From the right atrium, it flows into the right ventricle, and this is where the real muscle comes in. This ventricle is like the heart's launch pad, sending that blood off to the lungs for a vital oxygen refill.
Okay, so it's like a pit stop. But instead of tires and fuel, it's all about grabbing some O2.
Yeah.
And this is all happening on just one side of the heart. That's wild.
Just the right side. The left side is where things get really interesting. That oxygen-rich blood, fresh from the lungs, cruises into the left atrium. Think of it as the heart's arrival gate for that revitalized blood.
Okay, I'm with you. So it's all pumped up, ready to go out for round two.
Exactly. And sending it on its way is the left ventricle, the heart's heavy hitter. It's got the tough job of propelling that oxygenated blood through the aorta, which is like the body's superhighway, and out to every single cell.
Wait, hold up. The aorta, that's the big kahuna of arteries, right? The one you always hear about.
That's the one. From the brain to your pinky toe, every cell in your body is depending on the blood that the left ventricle pumps out through the aorta. It's an incredible responsibility, and it highlights just how crucial the heart's structure is for this whole system to work.
And we can't forget those VIP bouncers, the valves, right? Making sure everything's flowing in the right direction. No backtracking allowed.
Absolutely. 4 of them strategically placed. Tricuspid, pulmonary, mitral, and aortic. They work tirelessly, opening and closing with every heartbeat, ensuring that blood doesn't flow backwards.
It's like a perfectly choreographed dance, with the valves as the stage managers. But what's mind-blowing to me is, what's the orchestra conductor in all of this? How does the heart know when to beat, when to speed up, when to chill?
That's where the heart's own electrical system comes in.
Whoa, its own electrical system.
Yeah, remember those impulses I mentioned? They're not just random. They're generated by a very specific part of the heart. It's called the sinoatrial node, or SA node for short. Think of it as the heart's very own internal drummer, setting the rhythm for the whole operation.
Okay, the SA node, the heart's personal drummer. I like it. But how does it actually direct everything? It's not like it's got little drumsticks tapping out the beat, right?
Not quite. It's more like it sends out these electrical signals. Yeah, think of it like a wave that spreads through the atria.
Okay, so that's what makes them contract.
Exactly. That contraction, that's what pushes the blood from the atria down into the ventricles.
This is like a chain reaction, starting with that electrical impulse from the SA node.
Exactly. But, and here's where it gets even cooler, those impulses, they don't just, zap straight to the ventricles. There's this other node, the atrioventricular node, or AV node, that acts like a conductor.
The AV node.
Yeah, it receives the signal from the SA node.
Like it's taking the baton in a relay race.
Yeah. Yes. Perfect analogy. But then it puts on the brakes, just for a fraction of a second.
A conductor hitting the pause button. Why is that?
That tiny pause, it's crucial. It gives the atria that extra beat to fully contract and squeeze all the blood they can down into the ventricles.
Makes sense. Otherwise, it'd be like trying to fill a water balloon that's already full. You want it to empty out a bit first.
Exactly. And then, once the atria are empty, the AV node releases the signal, and boom, the ventricles contract, sending that blood either to the lungs or out to the body.
Whoa. That's some next-level coordination. Timing is everything. It's like a perfectly synchronized swimming routine with the SA node calling out the moves and the AV node making sure everyone's in sync.
I love that analogy. And remember, this entire electrical dance is happening constantly, every second of every day, without us even having to think about it.
It's mind-blowing. We've got this continuous loop of blood flow, valves directing traffic, and this hidden electrical system keeping everything in perfect rhythm. It's honestly more impressive than any high-speed train system I've ever seen.
Absolutely. And speaking of that continuous loop, let's trace the path of a single red blood cell. It's a pretty epic journey.
Lead the way. I'm ready to hop on board for this one.
Okay, so picture this. Our little red blood cell is just returning from delivering oxygen to your big toe. It's tired, a bit depleted, carrying carbon dioxide, which is like the exhaust from our cells.
So it's coming back to the heart for a recharge, right?
You got it. It enters the heart through the vena cava, which are like the major highways leading back to the heart.
And those lead right into the right atrium, which we said was like the welcome lounge for tired blood, right?
Precisely. From the right atrium, our hardworking red blood cell flows through the tricuspid valve, that one-way door, and into the right ventricle.
Which we said was like the launch pad to the lungs.
Yeah.
So off it goes to refuel.
Exactly. The right ventricle contracts, giving our red blood cell a powerful push through the pulmonary valve and into the pulmonary artery, the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood.
And the pulmonary artery is headed straight for the lungs. It's amazing how the body just knows where to send everything.
It's all about pressure gradients and those amazing one-way valves. They keep everything flowing in the right direction.
Okay.
Okay, so our red blood cell arrives in the lungs, specifically those tiny air sacs called alveoli. This is where the magic happens.
Okay, I'm picturing tiny air sacs, tons of surface area.
Yeah.
What goes down there?
It's all about the exchange. Oxygen from the air you breathe diffuses into the alveoli and then into the red blood cells waiting there. At the same time, the carbon dioxide that the red blood cell has been carrying diffuses from the blood into the alveoli to be exhaled. It's like a perfectly balanced swap meet.
Out with the old, in with the new. So our red blood cell is all gassed up and ready to go.
Totally revitalized. It's now packed with oxygen, ready to deliver that life-giving cargo to the rest of your body. And where does it go next? Back to the heart, of course.
Back to the heart. But this time, it's the left side, right, the oxygenated side.
Exactly. It travels through the pulmonary veins, now carrying that bright red, oxygen-rich blood, and enters the left atrium.
Okay, so we're back at the heart, this time on the left side, ready for the final leg of the journey. It's incredible how this whole circulatory system is like a perfectly choreographed dance, with each part playing a critical role.
Absolutely. And just like any good dance, timing is key. Remember those electrical impulses we were talking about? They're going to come into play again as we follow our red blood cell through the left side of the heart.
So our supercharged red blood cell is chilling in the left atrium, ready for action. What happens next?
Well, from the left atrium, it flows through the mitral valve, that one-way door we talked about, into the left ventricle.
Ah, the left ventricle, the heart's powerhouse. This is where it gets that final push out to the body, right?
Exactly. This is where things get really impressive. The left ventricle, it's built for power. It has to be strong enough to propel that oxygenated blood through the aortic valve and into the aorta. And the aorta, well, that's the body's main highway system.
No pressure, left ventricle. But seriously, that's a huge job. It's like the grand finale of a fireworks show, sending that oxygen-rich blood out with a bang.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And just like a grand finale, it takes a lot of coordinated effort. Remember those electrical impulses from the SA node we were talking about? They reach the left ventricle at just the right moment, causing it to contract with incredible force.
It's amazing how everything is timed so perfectly. So from the aorta, that oxygenated blood is delivered to every corner of the body, right?
Exactly. It's incredible, really. The aorta branches out into smaller arteries, and those arteries, they branch out into even tinier arterioles, and eventually they reach every single cell in your body. It's like, I don't know, a massive delivery network.
It is. And to think, this whole cycle, this epic journey of our little red blood cell happens with every single beat of our hearts.
It's a nonstop process, happening 24/7 from the moment we're born to our very last breath. And here's something else to consider. The heart, it doesn't just pump blood. It also helps to regulate blood pressure.
Oh, right. Blood pressure. That's another one of those vital signs we always hear about. How does the heart play a role in that?
Well, you see, as the heart pumps, it creates pressure within the arteries. And that pressure, it's not static. It fluctuates with each heartbeat. You've got your systolic pressure, that's the higher number, and that's the pressure when your heart beats, when those ventricles contract.
Okay, so systolic is the pressure when the heart is working its hardest. What about the lower number?
Right. That's your diastolic pressure, and that's the pressure when your heart's relaxed. Between beats, it's like the heart taking a tiny breather before the next big push, and maintaining a healthy balance between those two pressures, that's essential for overall health.
It's incredible how much is going on inside our bodies that we don't even realize.
It really is. And, the more we understand about how our hearts work, the more we can appreciate the incredible design of this vital organ.
Absolutely. Well, this deep dive has been an amazing journey. I feel like I've learned so much about this incredible organ that keeps us going.
Me too. It really is a testament to the wonders of human biology.
It really is. So to our listeners, next time you feel your heartbeat, take a moment to appreciate that powerful pump working tirelessly inside you. Because it's a pretty amazing feeling when you think about it.
I couldn't agree more. It's pretty incredible.
And there you have it. Another fascinating deep dive in the books. Until next time, keep those brains curious and those hearts beating.